Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a business owner or manager, you already know the profound, often exhausting pain that comes from personnel chaos. You've definitely experienced the sleepless nights, the endless putting out of fires, and that creeping, awful anxiety that your team's dynamics are literally holding your business back from its true potential. Running an organization without a crystal clear system for managing your people, well, it's just a recipe for absolute frustration. But today, we're fixing that by unpacking Chapter 4 of Gino Wickman's book, Traction. So I want you to be brutally honest with yourself right now. Are all of your people the right ones for their jobs? It's a tough question, I know, because the harsh reality, one that so many leaders try their hardest to avoid, is that some of your employees might actually be hurting your cause a lot more than they're helping it. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our agenda. We are going to cover the people component, finding the right people, sitting in right seats, fixing people mismatches, and finally, 5 actions to take. Section 1, the people component, cutting through the buzzwords. To start, we really need to completely eliminate all that fluffy management jargon you hear all the time. Terms like A players or superstars or top quartile. Honestly, they only add to the confusion. We need a much simpler, clearer definition. Best-selling author Patrick Lencioni summarizes this perfectly with his very first rule of building a healthy organization. He says, you must build and maintain a cohesive leadership team. To do this, your job right now is to step back and select these people wisely. You literally cannot build a great company without help, and each of your department heads should ideally be better than you in their respective positions. The Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS, cuts through all the noise to give us just 2 essential, absolutely distinct ingredients for a great team. You must have the right people, and they must be in the right seats. It's really that simple. You cannot have one without the other and expect to gain traction. Both of these have to be present if you want to succeed. Moving right along to Section 2, finding the right people. Core values first. In the EOS framework, the right people are simply those individuals who inherently share your company's core values and thrive in your unique culture. To see what this actually looks like in the real world, consider this amazing example of a receptionist at a company called Autumn Associates. She was returning from vacation, but her flight was severely delayed. She ended up landing just 1 hour before a mandatory 8 a.m. company meeting. Now, this company had a really strong custom of wearing logo apparel to all their meetings. So what did she do? She actually arranged for her mother to meet her at the airport with her company shirt, changed in the car, and walked into work right on time, apparel and all. I mean, wow, that right there is the very definition of a right person. So, the crucial point is this simple formula right here. Once you've defined your company's 3 to 7 core values, you combine them with a specific tool called the People Analyzer, and that helps you determine exactly who the right people are for your organization. And this brings us to the People Analyzer itself. This tool is incredibly powerful. Why? Because it completely replaces those subjective, emotionally charged arguments you usually have about personnel and swaps them out for a tangible, objective grid. It cuts right through the murkiness. You basically list your employees down the left side and your company's core values across the top. Here's how this works in practice. You rate each employee with a plus, a minus, or a plus/minus for every single core value. A plus means they exhibit that value most of the time. A minus means they don't, and a plus/minus, well, that means they're inconsistent. So in this example, John Smith gets all pluses. He's absolutely the right person. Sally Jones gets all minuses. She doesn't fit your culture and has to go. And George Wilson, he's kind of on the fence. Your goal here is to determine your company's minimum standard, which is known as the bar. For instance, if you have 5 core values, your bar might be 3 pluses, 2 plus/minuses, and absolutely never a minus. Anyone below the bar is simply the wrong person for your company, period. No exceptions. Now, if someone does fall below the bar, you don't just fire them on the spot. A practical manager uses what we call the 3-strike rule. First, you communicate the results clearly to them. You have to give them a fair chance to improve and adjust their behavior. And honestly, most people will actually try to improve once they know the expectations. But if they fail to meet the bar after 3 strikes, they've got to go. Actually, a lot of the time, they'll just opt out and leave on their own before that 3rd strike, simply because the clarity of the system makes them realize they just don't fit. Section 3. Sitting in right seats, capacity and structure. Because, as we know, having great people isn't enough if they aren't operating in their area of greatest skill and passion. Which brings us to our second major formula, A person's unique ability combined with a properly structured accountability chart equals the right seat. Look, a really common mistake business owners make is creating a company's structure just to accommodate people they happen to like or folks they're afraid to lose. You have to stop doing that. You absolutely must build your accountability chart for the future structure of the business first, completely ignoring your current staff. I mean it, blank slate. Only after that perfect structure is built do you start fitting people into those newly defined seats. So how do you know if they fit? To determine if a person belongs in a specific seat, EOS uses the GWC framework. GWC stands for Get It, Want It, and Capacity to Do It. When you evaluate an employee for a seat, you must get a definitive, black and white yes for all three of these elements. If even one of them is a no, well, they're in the wrong seat. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how clearly it exposes exactly why promotions so often fail. Get it means the person intuitively grasps how the role comes together. Want it means they genuinely like the job. And as a manager, you cannot motivate or overpay someone into truly wanting a job. If they don't want it, they're never going to provide that necessary spark. And capacity? That means having the actual time. Maybe the job takes 55 hours a week, but they only want to work 40, as well as the intellect and emotional intelligence to execute. Missing even one of these three traits will inevitably result in failure. Section 4. Fixing people mismatches. Tough business decisions. When you actually implement this system, you are going to inevitably face some difficult decisions that require decisive action for the long-term health of your company. Let's look at the two main types of mismatches. You'll basically have either a right person in the wrong seat or a wrong person in the right seat. The right person in the wrong seat is someone who shares your core values and is awesome for your culture, but they lack the GWC for their specific job. Maybe they outgrew the role or the role outgrew them. For those folks, you just need to find a new appropriate seat in the company where they can truly shine. But the wrong person in the right seat? Oh boy, that's a highly productive person who actively destroys your culture because they don't share your core values. They're the ones making wry comments in the hallway and spreading dissension. Let's ground this theory with a pretty intense cautionary tale from the book about a 20-year CFO. Initially, this executive shared the company's core values and was absolutely in the right seat. But as time went on, the industry and technology completely changed, and he just didn't. The seat basically outgrew him. He became resentful, aloof, and just unfriendly. He became the wrong person in the wrong seat. The owners wrestled with this for a year and a half. They kept giving him chances to adapt. Finally, left with zero other choices, they replaced him. And the result? The difference was literally like night and day. The finance department reorganized, and the whole company took a massive leap forward. Keeping people around just because you like them or out of some misplaced sense of loyalty is ultimately destructive to your entire team. Section 5. 5 actions to take. We've covered a whole lot of ground today, so now let's put this into practice and look at the exact action plan you need to implement immediately. And this brilliantly illustrates how these 5 practical steps will systematically eliminate that personnel chaos. First, get your leadership team together and define your 3 to 7 core values. Second, build your accountability chart looking at the structure you need for future growth, completely ignoring the people you currently have. Third, run every single person through the People Analyzer tool to see if they actually fit your culture. Fourth, evaluate everyone in their current seats using that strict black and white GWC test. And finally, set the bar for your organization and begin using the 3-strike rule to address your mismatches immediately. Which brings us to our final question. The tools are simple for sure, but executing them, that's the hard part. Addressing these mismatches will inevitably cause some short-term pain, maybe 36 hours of real discomfort when making a tough termination or a role change. But it is the only way to gain true traction and build a healthy, thriving company where everyone is genuinely happy and productive. So I'll leave you with this. Do you have the courage to build your ultimate team? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Start applying these tools today and watch your organization completely transform.